Ram Vishnupad Padamamsa Parvajacharya Astrotar Satashishimat. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ram Vishnupad Padamamsa Parvajacharya Astrotar Satashishimat. Sringa Guru Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Premsakho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. New Dwarka Dham Ki Jai. Their Divine Lordship Shri Shri Rukmini Dwarkadish Ki Jai. Their Divine Lordship Shri Shri Jagannath Baldev Shrimati Subhadra Ki Jai. Their Divine Lordship Shri Shri Gauranitai Ki Jai. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai. Harinam Sankirtan Jaga Ki Jai. Transcendental Prasadam Distribution Ki Jai. Gaur Premananda Hari Haribo. All glories to the Summa devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the Summa devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the Summa devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Gaur Shri Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the third canto, first chapter, questions by Vidura. We're on text 29 and 30. So I'll chant 29 and we'll chant 30 together. So today's topic is discuss the plenary expansions of Krishna. And this is what we can see here. And this is the city of Dwarka, and so many plenary expansions of Krishna are displayed here in the material world. We're so fortunate. So I'll chant this one. Kachit sukham satvata vishni boja dasardam kanana maripasaste yama vyasina chachata patra netro nipassanasam parihita durat. Translation. O my friend, tell me whether Ugrasena, the king of the Sattvatas, Vrishnis, Bojas, and Dasaras, is now doing well. He went far away from his kingdom, leaving aside all hopes of his royal throne. But Lord Krishna again installed him. So this is text number 30. Kachittare somya sutta sadriksha aste grani ratinam sarusamba asutayam jambavati ratadya devam guyam yom pikya dritogre Kachidare somya sutta sadriksha aste grani ratinam sarusamba asutayam jambavati ratadya devam guyam yom bhikaya dritogre Kachittare somya sutta sadriksha aste grani ratinam sarusamba asutayam jambavati ratadya Devam guyam yom bhikaya dvito gre Vaishnavis, Kachit, whether, Hare, of the personality of Godhead, Somya, O grave one, Sutta, son, Sadriksha, similar, Aste, fares well, Agrani, foremost, Ratinam, of the warriors, Sadhu, well behaved, Samba, Asuta, gave birth, Yam, whom, Jambavati, a queen of Lord Krishna's, Vratadya, enriched by vows, Devam, the demigod, Guham, of the name Kartikeya, Ya, whom, Ambikaya, unto the wife of Shiva, Drita, born, Agre, in the previous birth. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. O gentle one, does Shamba fare well? He exactly resembles the son of the personality of Godhead. In a previous birth, he was born as Kartikeya in the womb of the wife of Lord Shiva. And now he has been born in the womb of Jambavati, the most enriched wife of Krishna. Please repeat. O gentle one, does Samba fare well? He exactly resembles the son of the personality of Godhead. In a previous birth, he was born as Kartikeya in the womb of the wife of Lord Shiva. And now he has been born in the womb of Jambavati, the most enriched wife of Krishna. Purport. Lord Shiva, one of the three qualitative incarnations of the personality of Godhead, is the plenary expansion of the Lord. Kartikeya, born of him, is on the level of Pradyumna, another son of Lord Krishna. When Lord Sri Krishna descends into the material world, all his plenary portions also appear with him to exhibit different functions of the Lord. But for the pastimes at Vrindavan, all functions are performed by the Lord's different plenary expansions. Vasudeva is a plenary expansion of Narayan. This is Vasudeva. When the Lord appeared as Vasudeva before Devaki and Vasudeva, he appeared in his capacity as Narayan. Similarly, all the demigods of the heavenly kingdom appeared as associates of the Lord in the forms of Pradyumna, Shamba, Uddhava, etc. It is learned here that Kamadeva appeared as Pradyumna, Kartikeya as Samba, and one of the Vasus as Uddhava. All of them served in their different capacities in order to enrich the pastimes of Krishna. Jai Om Gyana Tamarandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksusun Militamena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sapitamena Bhutale Swamupagadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakopa Tubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So the first verse, "O my friend, tell me whether Ugrasena, the king of the Sattvatas, Vrishnis, Bhojas, and Dasharas, is now doing well. He went far away from his kingdom, leaving aside all hopes of his royal throne. But Lord Krishna again installed him. O gentle one, does Samba fare well? He exactly resembles the son of the personality of Godhead. In a previous birth, he was born as Kartikeya in the womb of the wife of Lord Shiva, and now he has been born in the womb of Jambavati, the most enriched wife of Krishna." So there's a lot in these particular verses and purports to talk about, and less than half an hour. It's not really possible, but this is why we'll have some pictures. They're worth 1,000 words. So they'll bring to our minds some pastimes of Krishna and his different expansions. So we see, as mentioned in the purport, Krishna appeared as Vasudeva, and from his father Vasudeva. So we know the story how this particular form of Krishna's appearance as Vasudeva, he was taken across the river to Mother Yasoda and Nanda Maharaj. Mother Yasoda just happened to have taken birth with 2 children. There's one, a boy and a girl. And the boy was actually Krishna. And the girl was Subhadra, his sister. So when Vasudeva brought Vasudeva to Mother Yasoda there, actually this Vasudeva merged into the body of Krishna. So also all the spiritual persons from the spiritual world, they can do the same thing. They can actually expand themselves and do things like this. So just like Krishna told the demigods that you appear first, then we'll appear and you can assist me in different ways. So we're reading about these different demigods, like we read yesterday about, Pradyumna, right? And how he was Cupid. So Cupid is actually the demigod, but there's actually a Pradyumna, which is from the spiritual world. So he's like an expansion. There's like a material form of Cupid and a spiritual form of Cupid. Okay? So we know Vidura is on his journey. I think he was on his, I guess you could call it, he was going to all the different holy places, pilgrimage. Was it like 35 years, I think? So by this time, we know the Kurukshetra war was over in 18 days. So this happened, so he met first Maitreya. At first he met Uddhava, and then Uddhava told him to talk to Maitreya, which we see here. And we know Uddhava is a very powerful personality also. He actually had just finished hearing the Uddhava Gita from Krishna right before he met Vidura. And Maitreya was there also. So that's why Uddhava told Vidura that, I have to go, so Maitreya was there. So he can also tell you some of these things. So here we're still talking to Uddhava though. He's asking these questions to Uddhava. And Uddhava is a very powerful personality also. He's actually a Vasu. He's one of the Vasus. They're very powerful. Just like Bhishma Dev was a Vasu also. He was so powerful that even Parshuram couldn't defeat him. They had to stop and say, you can't defeat him, just, stop. So these are very, very powerful personalities. So, it's described there. And so, Uddhava was so very much feeling pain and separation because he knew that Krishna was going to leave. So he was very much attached to Krishna. So, he wanted to just go and perform Krishna's instructions. So he left. So we talked about Pradyumna. It was mentioned again in the purport, how he was a baby that was snatched by a demon. Anybody remember his name? No. Sambara, yeah. Sambara. So he actually stole, it was explained also. I think you explained that yesterday, Prabhupada. And so he threw him in the ocean, and this fish, which they discovered, was Samba. So this is the demon that Samba was actually meant to kill, and eventually he actually did kill him. And he actually was born like the demigods, they're just a baby at first and they grow very fast. So he actually became very powerful, and he killed this demon. So who is this Samba? He is the son of Krishna and Jambavati. Yeah, so it's mentioned in the purport. So this is them. He actually also looked exactly like Krishna. It's described that Pradyumna also exactly looked like Krishna. So they're very beautiful. So we know the story of Jambavati, how she was the daughter of Jambavan. And this was the whole story with the Shamtaka jewel, where it was recommended that this jewel be given to the king, who was Ugrasena. And so he refused. And so there was a big battle. He lost it eventually. Was it Satyajit was the one who was asked to give it to him? But he refused, so then it happened that it ended up with Jambavan. And this is the whole story that we don't have time to explain, but just to give you an idea of this is how Krishna got his wife Jambavati. So then we know some other things about Samba, and this will remind you here how Samba, we know when he was a young man, they dressed as a woman to mock the sages. And they said, "Oh, wise sages, can you tell us what this child is going to be, a boy or a girl?" And you see in the other, on the right side of the screen, they actually cursed him. They cursed and said, yeah, your child will be an iron club. And this club will be the source of your destruction of the Yadu dynasty. So they freaked out and they went to King Ugrasena here. And they were all alarmed by this offense. So they said, okay, well, what to do? They pulverized this iron club to powder, and they threw it in the ocean. And so when they did that, all that powder actually came on shore. This was in Prabhas, right on the bank in Prabhas. So all the reeds on that shore, they actually, sucked up all those iron powders. And they became like iron rods. So this is what happened when they went to this, in the form of a pilgrimage. They went there to the Prabhas, and they actually were drinking rice wine. And they became intoxicated. And this is the only way that Krishna could end his pastimes, with his, different expansions and the demigods like that. Because they're so powerful that no one can defeat them. They're practically invincible. So this was the process for them to wind up the pastime of Krishna. So they ended up killing each other with these iron rods. So there's another story we know about Jambavati. This might remind you of the pastime. And we know that was it not, what am I thinking of, Jambavati? Or Samba, right? Samba, he married Duryodhana's daughter. He actually won her at a Swayambara. And so after he won, he defeated all the soldiers. He was very powerful. And so what happened is Duryodhana refused when he found out that that's Krishna's son. I'm not going to have my daughter marry Krishna's son. Forget it. So what did they do? They put Samba in prison. And when Ugrasena found out, he wanted to get the entire Yadu army to come and just smash them. But Balaram said, no, wait. He said, wait, I have a relationship with Duryodhana. And he said, maybe I could talk to him, see what we could work out. So this is what he did. He went there, and he was outside the city. And they announced that Balaram is here. And they said, okay, well, invite him. We're so fortunate that Balaram's here. But then when he told them why he's coming, he said, I want you to free Krishna's son. And let him marry your daughter. And it's like, forget it. They actually insulted Balaram too, I think, that time. So then Balaram became very angry, and he started with his plow just to drag the entire city into the, what was it, the river there? One of the rivers there. And then they woke up and they realized that they were messing with the wrong person. So they all agreed, okay. So actually Samba married Duryodhana's daughter, and they had those nice exchanges of gifts and everything. But just think if the Yadus actually, the army smashed them without Balaram's interference, there would have never been a Kurukshetra war. But actually, it was meant to be, so this is what happened. So we see how there's another pastime here with, this is Kamsa. We talked about Ugrasena, how he got his kingdom back because of Krishna's mercy. We read in the purport there. But we see that after Kamsa was killed by Krishna, who was very powerful, this Kamsa was amazingly powerful. He himself would just defeat armies from all the different kings. He would just smash them himself. And then he would go up to the kings and tell them, okay, you either join me or you're going to die too. So they didn't have any choice. So this is how he got alliances with all the other different demoniac kings. He would smash their armies and then he would force them to join him. So there's one pastime where we know that Krishna, when they were living in Mathura, right? So then they had to move to Dwarka. And before that, this the reason why they did that was that the city of Mathura was going to be attacked from both sides, right? By this demon Kaliyavana and Jarasandha. So they actually made alliance together. So they were attacking on both sides. And so Krishna thought, oh, this is kind of dangerous. This is a very powerful warriors. So Krishna said, okay, I'm just going to move everybody. I'm going to create the city of Dwarka. We saw that city in the first slide. So I'll create Dwarka. And it was just like he had Vishvakarma, the architect of the demigods, come. And like in a snap of a finger, he just created Dwarka. And then Krishna, with his mystic power, when everybody went to sleep, they took a snap. And then within a snap, they were in Dwarka, without them practically even knowing. So this is how Krishna gave Ugrasena back his kingdom. Actually, he was the king of Dwarka. Krishna was the prince. So this is how that happened. So, yeah, there's an interesting story how I think it was Kaliyavana. He had this huge elephant. It's in the Krishna book. And this elephant was going wild. They had it chained, but it went and it actually just started stomping through the camp of Kamsa. And Kamsa was so powerful that he picked up that elephant and swung him around and threw him back into the camp of this Kaliyavana. And that's when Kaliyavana was so impressed. He goes, wow, this, the Kamsa is pretty cool. So he thought, well, I'll have an alliance with him. So this is how they got together there. So, yeah, this is very interesting. So here's Dwarka. Again, we see Krishna's different expansions. There's his plenary expansions. And some come as demigods. Some come as his actually plenary portions that come from the spiritual world. And some are even his Shakti energies, like we see Mother Yasoda and Nanda Maharaj. They're his Shakti potencies. They're not posts. They're actually, you can't become Nanda Maharaj. You can't become Mother Yasoda. You can't become these people. They're not posts. They're like Krishna's energies. Like that. So those are all described there. So actually it mentioned here that in the purport that you might wonder what all these different images, how they relate. But Samba is also Kartikeya, Prabhupada described in the purport. And Kartikeya was the commander-in-chief of the demigods. And this is when they had, Muchukunda was actually a king who was fighting on behalf of the demigods because they didn't have anybody to protect them. So when they got Kartikeya, which was the son of Lord Shiva, he was a great warrior. So then he came and Kartikeya actually told this Muchukunda, he said, okay, you've been working so nice, so long. I mean, everybody that you've known, your family, everybody through the time, they're already forgotten. So, they offered him a benediction. And he was so tired that he said, okay, just let me sleep. And anybody who wakes me up, they will be burned by my sight. So you see that one image there where Krishna's displaying his intelligence, how he can perform so many things. He can actually liberate Muchukunda and at the same time kill this demon who was untouchable. He was a demon that was untouchable, and Krishna, even by killing an untouchable, the Kshatriyas won't do that. So Krishna, using his intelligence, remembered this incident, and he ran into the cave, and this is where the demon went there and kicked Muchakundo, and he was burned to ashes. So also we see here, of course, you see Kartikeya, his favorite vehicle is a peacock. So that's how he flies around on his peacock. And so there's in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in a purport there, Prabhupada describes that there's a son of Advaita Acharya. His son was named Achyutananda. He was his eldest son. And it's described that he actually was Kartikeya. So this is interesting. We see how these different energies of Krishna, different pastimes, they actually are like that. And this Achyutananda was a very, very, ever since birth, he was a devotee of Lord Chaitanya. As a naked child, he ran up to Lord Chaitanya's feet and paid his obeisances. And Lord Chaitanya picked him up and put him on his lap, even though he was all dirty and everything. And Lord Chaitanya picked him up and said, "Hey, you know, our father is Advaita. Advaita is my father. So therefore, you and I, we're brothers." So he told him that. So that was nice. And to even go beyond that, this Achyutananda is described there. Srila Prabhupada talks in the purport there in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And this Achyutananda was Gadadhar Pandit's disciple. Now, let's see where it is here. So this, okay, so this is in the purport there. Prabhupada says, Achyutananda, as a disciple of Gadadhar Pandit and a great and dear devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, according to the opinion of some, he was an incarnation of Kartikeya, the son of Lord Shiva. And according to others, he was formerly the gopi named Achyuta. So just see, all these different energies of Krishna expand themselves. And not only that, but his expansions expand themselves in different ways. So Prabhupada says, the Gora Ganodesha Dipika supports both these opinions. So it's proved there. So yeah. So yeah, this Kartikeya is very, there's even many holy places where Lord Chaitanya appeared with this, where Kartikeya was, there's like a deity of Kartikeya. And there's where Lord Chaitanya would actually come and visit them, these holy places of Tirthas. So that's called Skanda. Actually, it's called Skanda, also Kartikeya, son of Lord Shiva. So Lord Chaitanya would go to this Skanda Chaitra and offer his obeisances to these deities. So isn't that amazing? So here's the last slide I'd like to end with. Like in the previous verse, yesterday's class, Prabhupada mentioned the Sandarbhas. And we know Jiva Goswami, he was actually the compiler of them. I think Gopal Bhatta was the one who put them, actually was the author, I think. But Jiva Goswami was the publisher and put it together like that. So there's this nice verse here I'm quoting, Vedanti tattvavidas tattvam yaj jnanam advyam brahmete paramatme bhagavan iti sabite. That learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan. So it's amazing, this Satsandarbhas are actually the commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. And Jiva Goswami brings this out, and he brings about all these arguments people may have or contradictions that we may appear to see. He brings these all out in the Sandarbhas. They're very deep, deep languages. We know this, our devotee Radhika Raman, You know, when he was a teenager, he got his PhD at Oxford just on 3 or 4 verses from the Sandarbhas. So you could do a whole thesis just on 1 or 2 verses. It's so deep, but it explains the importance of the Srimad Bhagavatam, how it's purifying, and Jiva Goswami from this, he brings about all these different topics of Krishna, how to understand his energies, his expansions, you know, like that, and how they. And this is the whole purpose. We may think Krishna is beyond our senses to understand, but actually, the Vedic scriptures have the power for us to actually understand them and to explain them and to become purified by them. So there's a purport to this verse I quoted, and this will bring that to light here. It says, as explained in the first sloka of the first chapter of the Bhagavatam, the supreme truth is self-sufficient, cognizant and free from illusion of relativity. In the relative world, the knower is different from the known. But in the absolute truth, both the knower and the known are one and the same thing. In the relative world, the knower is the living spirit or the superior energy, whereas the known is inert matter or inferior energy. Therefore, there is a duality of inferior and superior energy. Whereas in the absolute realm, both the knower and the known are the same superior energy. These are 3 kinds of energies of the supreme energetic. There is no difference between the energy and the energetic, but there is a difference of quality of energies. The absolute realm and the living entities are of the same superior energy, but the material world is inferior energy. The living being in contact with the inferior energy is illusioned, thinking he belongs to the inferior energy. Therefore, there is a sense of relativity in the material world. In the absolute, there is no such sense of difference between the knower and the known. And therefore, everything there is absolute. So, in the 10th canto, it actually gives us what is the real purpose of our senses and why they were created. So this is from the 10th canto, 87th chapter, 2nd verse. Sukadeva Goswami said, the Supreme Lord manifested the material intelligence, senses, mind, and vital air of the living entities so that they could indulge their desires for sense gratification, take repeated births to engage in fruitive activities, and become elevated in future lives and ultimately attain liberation. So the senses we could use them either way, either to degrade ourselves or to expand ourselves. So how can you not understand? So in the purport there, I'd like to read the last part there. They actually quote from the Gopala Tapani Upanishad. So he says, how both purified and unpurified devotees use their intelligence, mind and senses in worshiping the Lord is described in reference to the following quote from this Gopalatani Upanishad. So here's a translation. The Supreme Lord appeared in his 2-armed form, his divine lotus eyes, a complexion the color of a cloud, and garments that resembled lightning. He wore a garland of forest flowers, and his beauty was enhanced by his pose of meditative silence. So the purport continues. The transcendental intelligence and senses of the Lord's perfect devotees correctly perceive his purely spiritual beauty, and their realizations are echoed in the Gopala Tapani's Shruti's comparison of Lord Krishna's eyes, body, and clothing to a lotus, a cloud, and lightning. On the other hand, devotees on the level of sadhana, who are in the process of becoming purified, have only barely realized the Supreme Lord's boundless spiritual beauty. Nonetheless, by hearing scriptural passages such as this one from the Gopala Tapani Upanishad, they engage in contemplating him to the best of their fledgling ability. Although the neophyte devotees have not yet learned how to fully realize the Lord or meditate steadily on even the effulgence surrounding his body, Still they take pleasure in presuming. We are meditating on our Lord. And the Supreme Lord, moved by the waves of his boundless mercy, himself thinks. So this is Krishna thinking. These devotees are meditating on me. And when their devotion matures, he draws them to his feet to engage in his intimate service. Thus it is concluded that all the Vedas have access to the personal identity of the Supreme only by his mercy. So just see, this is the potency of the Vedic literatures, especially Srimad Bhagavatam. It is actually Krishna in this audio form, this sound, in the sound vibration. So if you associate with that, we become purified. It has the potency, like these words that we're reading, they're actually spiritual. So Krishna can do this. This is how we get to know him. And this is what Vidura wants to remind himself and just console himself of all these wonderful pastimes. It's like reminding you of the Krishna book and all the activities of the wonderful devotees and Krishna's expansions and forms. So I'd like to end there and open up for any comments and questions. Yes, Brigupati Prabhu.
If I understood it correctly, it showed, it showed, is that Krishna and Balaram?
Yes.
So I was always under the impression that it was just the Yadus fighting against each other. Is that actually correct? That they were, Krishna and Balaram were involved in the fighting and they were...
Yeah. They tried to attack Krishna and Balaram. Even.
Wow, okay.
And Krishna and Balaram wiped them out. The ones that were still alive. So yeah.
Okay. Also, one of the other pictures it showed Jambavati, or being given by Jambavan.
Yes.
He kind of looked, yeah. So he looks kind of human, but so what's the understanding? I mean, because sometimes he's referred to as a monkey, sometimes as a bear, but it just kind of looks more like a human with some simian type of.
He looks like a what?
A human with some simian.
Oh, human.
Yeah,
okay.
Features.
Yeah.
Krishna wouldn't marry a monkey, right?
Yeah.
So how do we understand that?
I don't think Jambavan is an ordinary person either, but yeah, he was considered to be like a bear. But yeah, he probably had to form, I guess Krishna came half man, half lion. But Archana knows.
On the higher levels of existence in this material world, human-like forms, like the demigods, they can give birth to non-human forms.
Yeah.
Like if you look at all the wives of Kashyapa Muni, the different wives gave birth to snakes, to birds, to different forms. So just because even if Jambavan looks like a monkey or a bear, doesn't mean his daughter has to look like that.
Yeah, his daughter was beautiful. Beautiful enough for Krishna. Yeah. Okay, any other comments, questions? Jai, well, thank you for your kind attention. All glories to Srimad Bhagavatam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.